I lost time.
Oh,
Great. All right, time is now 6 o'clock. We will call this June 24th County Council meeting to order. But first, we'll have an invocation by Vice Chairman Carroll, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for the beauty of this community we live in. We thank you for the opportunity we have tonight to be here to gather and discuss your business. Lord, we ask that everything that we do be pleasing in your sight. Lord, we ask tonight that we remember the passing of Deputy Chris Motes, passed away from a hard-fought battle with cancer. Pray for his wife Tabitha, his family, friends, loved ones at this difficult time. Lord, be with us as we have this meeting. Help guide our directions and everything we do be pleasing in things that you would have us do. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we have approval of the agenda. We have one change to that agenda, number 9D in new business. This first reading of ordinance 968. Project Onward. We will scratch that from the agenda tonight, due to a motion that came out of the committee earlier to push that to the July meeting.
Motion to approve the agenda with the proposed amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Second by Mr. Carroll. Are there any other additions or deletions?
I'll do it.
Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. All right. We have multiple minute approvals. We have May 13th regular session, May 13th budget workshop, the April 22nd budget workshop, and the June 10th regular session minutes.
You'd like them individually or as a group?
Make a motion however you want to make.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes for May 13, 2024 regular, as well as May 13, 2024 budget workshop, the April 22nd budget workshop, and the June 10th, 2024 regular session.
Motion by Mr. Carroll to approve all the minutes as presented.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rankin. Are there any additions or deletions to the minutes? Therefore, we need a mark it.
It's just a background here.
Okay. With the exception of one typo that we'll address later, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? All those in favor, please raise your right. All those in favor? 6-0. All right, next we have.
Oh.
All right, now, we have no budget and finance committee doing that.
Well,
All right, reports to council. First up, reports from committees. There were 2 committee meetings earlier. I will turn the floor over to Vice Chairman Carroll.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a meeting of the Lawrence County Committee on Budget and Finance at 4 p.m. today. to discuss commercial development proposal for the Watts Mill area of Lawrence County. We had a presentation from the developer, and let me start over. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I apologize. So the Committee on Budget and Finance met at 4 p.m. today to discuss a commercial development proposal that was brought to the county to invest in some townhomes in an area just adjacent to the city of Lawrence, near the mill site in Wattsville. So after the presentation, our committee voted to approve a motion out of committee to present this project for first reading approval at the July council meeting.
I don't think we need any formal motion of council. Schedule that to be on the agenda for July.
And that was the entirety of the meeting. We'll get more information as we move forward through the process. That was all in that committee. The next committee meeting we had at 5 p.m. was on health and emergency services. There was a request from the city of Lawrence to augment the fire response map to allow them to respond a little closer to down 76th Eastway towards the city of Clinton. It is beneficial to both the residents in that area and the city of Lawrence as they continue to have an ISO rating of 1. So the people that would be impacted in that change would actually see an increase in their ISO or a decrease in their ISO rating, which would in fact decrease their insurance. So it's a benefit to those in that area, and it's a benefit to us in having additional coverage there. There is no cost incurred to us. It's just a redrawing of a map. They're already responding there. It helps 911 with the response. So we make a motion out of our committee to enter into a redrawing mutual aid agreement with the city of Lawrence to redraw the fire map to include portions of Eastern 76 to a 5-mile radius of the city of Clinton. It also includes several small parcels along 76 so that we have a contiguous coverage map. So there's a couple businesses peppered down 76 near the Walmart area, things there that were kind of county, city. This would make that clean for the city fire response to that area.
We have a budget committee designed a second on. Make sure I heard you correctly. That's to authorize the county administrator to enter into a MOU with the city of Lawrence to update the fire coverage map.
Correct.
All right. I would. I don't know if it needs to be an amendment to your motion or if it's understood. You mentioned the donut holes on 76. One I can think of off the top of my head is Sonic. So for example, city limits go beyond Sonic. Sonic's in the county, not in city limits.
Correct.
But we also have a couple that I'm personally aware of on the west side of town on Anderson Drive that are within a baseball throw of the city fire station that are in the county. I'd like us to include any donut holes that might be found in that circle. Just to ensure that we're offering our citizens the best protection and quickest response we possibly can.
Certainly, that would, whatever would make it a continuous map, we would certainly move towards that.
All right. We have that motion coming out of committee. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. I think that'll be great for our citizens in that area. We need to do our best to increase our services throughout the county. Any more committee reports?
I've got 2 candidates for 2 different committees.
All righty, we'll do that because that did get left off the agenda. So we will take, we have 2, actually we have 3. I'm gonna call them out. You got 2 of yours and Ms. Clark has 1 as well. We'll take those right now. For recreation and tourism, Mr. Carlton Leon Chandler has been recommended for District 1, as well as for the Lawrence County Planning Commission, Dwayne A. Owens, also in District 1. And then for the Airport Commission, Mr. Christopher Cameron for District 3. Those all come by recommendation for council members for vacant seats. So they will all, Ms. Knopf, you already have copies of these. Okay, I'll make sure you get a copy of these to record in the minutes and get them trained and put on their new committees. We look forward to their service and thank you. Is any of you here this evening? All right, well, thank you regardless for your service and look forward to all the great things you'll do, represent Lawrence County on those committees and commissions. Up next, we have reports from the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. Tonight I have 3 items under my report. First and foremost, the local emergency preparedness grant we seem to participate in every single year. What this does is allow us to extend our emergency preparedness programming through our emergency management department and acquire different pieces of equipment and resources to better help us prepare for an emergency. Systematically, as we apply for those grants and are awarded those grants, it requires a match. That's not what we're here to discuss tonight. Those would come forward to council should a grant be applied for and accepted. What I'm seeking out of council tonight is authorization to continue participating in that program. So we have the ability to apply to receive those grants and then bring them forward for your consideration. So really what I need out of council is the ability to execute an agreement with emergency management to keep that program in place.
I think I wrote this letter down right. So motion to allow the county administrator to continue our participation in the LEMPG.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Motion to allow the county administrator to continue our participation in that program, noting that if any grants are applied for that require a match beyond what is budgeted in the annual budget, he will bring that back to county.
Second.
I'll make a motion second by Mr. Rankin. You're good?
Yeah.
I'll make that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0, and that is a great program. I think our most recent acquisition was the mobile heater unit.
Yes,
for the
sir.
Fire station.
There's been a slew of things we've been able to participate in, and it's really helped us better posture ourselves in the event of natural disaster.
Wonderful.
Yes, sir. Second thing on the list, we currently have, as far as the county and our employees, we're currently covered under the public employment benefit for our health insurance. The Association of Counties, which covers our liability insurance as far as property damage and things of that nature, they are launching soon a health insurance benefit and are asking counties if they would like to participate in that benefit. They're out seeking numbers to allow us to engage in a census along with other counties so they can see how this program would look. And then potentially allow us to come back to council and say, hey, we have an insurance option through the Association of Counties who we all benefit from. I would need council's authorization to work with the Association of Counties and hopefully extend those opportunities back to Lawrence County.
If I may speak on that, unfortunately, I've sit on the board of the association, and this is always a topic of discussion, and we finally were able to go out and work with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is what PIVA's through. PIVA is what we currently offer all of our county employees. Unfortunately, and maybe Mr. Rankin can help fix this in the future. Currently, the state legislature can make a determination on the increase in that cost every year with no input from any of the counties that participate. And over the last good period of time, I don't know the exact year, but it's in the double digits. They have continued to increase that cost solely to the county. And in my personal opinion, the options they offer aren't best. There's not a lot of choice. It's pretty much this or yes or no. And going with the association, there are 3 separate plans that each employee will have the option individually to pick, as well as give us a little more autonomy on that coverage cost and how we go. And I think it'll exploring this channel in the long term will be great for us with the association. We pushed hard to make this happen, and we've offered it to all the counties in the state. We did a little test run with four counties kind of made up different demographics, and it's gone well. And now we're opening that up to all counties to apply for, and work with different, HR departments to get cost on that. This wouldn't tie us into anything. This would be a motion to allow the county administrator to explore costs with the association. And bring us back to presentation. Nothing would happen until next year's budget anyways. So we, and probably next fall in theory, because the way the cycles run. So we're 12 to 18 months at best out from there being a change, should council elect to make one. So do I have a motion for the county administrator to explore insurance benefits through the Association of Counties for county employees?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rankin,
Second.
second by Ms. Clark. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 65. And we choose to stay with PIVA. I encourage Mr. Rankin to look out for us in the coming years. All right, I think you have one
Yes, sir,
more.
one more thing. First of all, congratulations on council for passing our budget. I know some of our neighboring counties are working really hard to squeeze theirs in at the final hour, and we got ours done. As part of that budget deliberation, the special appropriations budget for nonprofits, outside agencies has been a point of debate. And at the end of that debate, there was an application process set to take place. So staff worked diligently on preparing that application that y'all have a copy of. What staff needs out of council at this point to move forward is an established timeline of that application, that when you'd like to see the application launched, when you'd like to see them returned by, and then a time for y'all to deliberate and make a decision on those applications, so we can inform those wishing to apply of the process and get that process started.
With this one, I'll just open the floor for discussion, and we will figure out our timeline, and then I'll call for a motion. As far as the grant application itself, it is very, very similar to the ARPA application that we used during those allocations, which I think worked very, very well. The verbiage obviously has been changed to take out some of the reference to COVID and ARPA itself, and it's more geared towards the local area. But the requests for financials and plans and all that stuff are still in there, which I think is very vital information and will help us make good decisions on how to appropriate those funds versus how we've done it in the past, just obtaining the letters. I would love input on council as far as timeline, on how long we need to put it out for return, and then when we want to actually disperse the allocations.
So at this first, when we used to have them in the budget, look at the first payment
They were done within the first quarter of the fiscal year.
in the first quarter.
Normally, yes, ma'am. I mean, we required some paperwork from them. So there were a few that might have been a little slow in getting it in, but as soon as they turned in their paperwork after July 1, they usually cut the check.
How would the rest of the council feel if we open up the application process beginning July 1st and ending at the end of the month, July 31st?
I think 60 days would probably be better. This one is gonna be a new process for some folks. If it was our current process we've done every year, 30 days is probably enough, but I want to, it's vacation time for some people. I want to make sure we're giving enough time to pull their documents together. Some of them are probably having to work with CPAs to get their financials right. And I don't want anybody to miss the deadline because they just couldn't physically get their paperwork together because of somebody else. I would say personally for me, I think 60 days minimum, if not 90.
I can agree with 60 days, especially since it's something new, it's not a statute or anything, but it's just something that you have to feel your way through. And,
So August 31st is a Saturday, so how about August 30th? That's the Friday before the last day of August. That gives 2 months, basically.
Go with that.
That would be good. And then, as far as council review, much likely to set up a committee meeting as a whole, just like we did there in ARPA. Allow for presentation and discussion. We give ourselves 30 days to do that. Make allocations we'll say by September 30th. That way, if we choose to do it a little ahead of that, we can. September 30th is a Monday, so that if we have to push all the way out there, we'll have a day to do it. Does that sound good to everyone? Hearing no objections, I'll do my best to form a motion. I'll make a motion to authorize county administrator and staff to publish the grant application process for the special appropriations allocated in the budget. Applications will be made available by July 1 and must be turned in by close of business on August 30th. County council will convene and make allocations by September 30th for disbursement. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Carroll. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6. I would ask we publish that in the newspapers and online and everywhere we possibly can to advertise that for the nonprofits here in the county. All right, up next, is that all the reports from the county administrator?
Yes, sir, that's all this time.
Up next, Mr. Howard, approval of ATAC recommendations.
Good evening, council. Here for our yearly meeting about the ATAX recommendations. Every year we receive ATAX funds back from the state. It's a direct reflection of tourists in Lawrence County. We received $111,000 this year, which is good, but not as good as years in the past. That's a direct reflection of the way we awarded funds last year. So this year we actually had a lot more applications than we received in the past. So we were not able to give out as much funds as we gave out in the past. The ATAX has given out or made their recommendations. These recommendations have gone to the Parks and Recreation Committee for their recommendations. They did not make any changes, made a small stipulation to the funds that were left over after reviewing all of the applications. And we're here tonight to answer any questions that you may have on these recommendations. As you can see, there are a few that were not recommended for funding for reasons that they don't believe that they are attracting tourism for long term. To ask for your approval for these recommendations.
All right. Before we call for a motion, are there any questions, Mr. Howard, on the proposed ATAX committee list?
I have.
Very much.
The first one is Cross Hill, the town of Cross Hill. The Labor Day Festival. I have been attending that festival for from the time it originated until last year. And I feel like they addressed the stipulations that the ATAX statute represent. I know they publicize it in the newspaper, both in, the Lawrence and the Greenwood. They also have a booklet and they have posters all around, and it's a big thing for them. And they have a parade, and it really brings people in, and because they come to see some of their grandchildren or whoever is participating. And I think it deserves recognition for them to receive something out of that ATAX fund. I think they have been receiving in the past. I know they've had some issues lately, but it's just personnel because, they lost their mayor and the mayor was sick for a while. And I cannot see why, I don't know what else could have transpired that they were just totally knocked out without anything. And I think they deserve something. They're a small town. And I realize that, you know, Clinton and Lawrence are in here, but this town is a part of Lawrence County. And they also have a mayor in their town too. So I think they need to be represented. And I feel like they deserve something out of this, fund because they do, initiate what the statute calls for.
Yes, ma'am, I understand what you're saying, and you mentioned it perfectly in what you said, they advertise locally. And the goal of this is to advertise outside of Lawrence County. Greenwood does meet the advertising goals because it does bring people from outside of the county. But if you advertise locally, that's not attracting people from outside of the county to come into this. Really, the goal is to attract people from outside of the county. If you're advertising inside of Lawrence, that's not bringing people from outside of Lawrence. I love the Advertiser, I love the Chronicle, but people in Greenville don't subscribe to it. And that was one of the big factors that the Accommodations Tax Committee looked at and said, you know, you're gonna spend the money that we award you to advertise inside the advertiser. As much as we love the advertiser, it's not a good expenditure of these funds. And the state does look at those things. They say, if you're advertising in your local newspaper, on your local radio station, those venues don't reach out outside of the county. I think that was the determining factor for anything for me to say, we're not gonna award these places.
I do not see the local, I just saw advertisement. And that's trying to make sure that but I can go with, local, but I really feel like they do reach out. And I know I have run into people there from Spartanburg County because they go behind the, what is the Hazans? That group, because they come over there, that hillbilly group. And, they bring, I don't know how many, features there. And, I really don't want them to be left out. And I want somebody to figure out some funds for them to be, you know, participating.
I agree, and I believe that, you know, actually tracking those visitors is a very hard thing to do. But we are actually, Mr. Higgs and myself, we've actually looked into software that will track visitors. And I think with that new software that we're looking to utilize this coming year, it's gonna help out a lot with tracking visitors and it'll really help showing what these festivals actually do bring into the county. And not only that, it's gonna help in many ways, from CPST to how money is spent in the county. That software will really help us nail down what festivals are actually drawing tourists and actually showing where they're spending their money in Lawrence County. And that's gonna be a big plus to helping the ATAX Committee, Parks and Recreation, Tourism, decide where money should be spent and how money should be spent. I think that's gonna be a big plus to help us. And obviously you all have the final say. There is some money left over and you can actually make that decision, put money into that. But it is hard to track those visitors. And without having a ticket system to buy tickets, and the Cross Hill Festival does not have that. We're actually buying tickets at one location, like Squillen Square. You bought tickets and you could put down a zip code of where you came from. That was a good way of tracking systems. It's hard to actually track where these people are coming from. That is a downfall for the coming home to Cross Hill Festival. So that is a hard thing to track. And it was a downfall for the Joanna Textile Festival way back in its day, to try to see what that as well. And I think that was the demise of the Textile Festival way back when it was going on.
I really want them included, and I also like for them to get a copy of the statute. Not only them, but a couple of others, so they can really understand, because looking at, Waterloo, they got community picnic, and I realize that a community picnic is not tourism. And so, just make sure the mayor get a copy of the statute, please.
It is included in the application.
Included in the application. But I'm still looking at something for the town of Cross Hill. I don't know what we can do for Waterloo, but it is a small town too.
Waterloo, the main reason why they wasn't included, well, obviously it was community picnic, that was the main reason,
Yeah.
but they didn't spend the money that they were awarded last year.
You know, according to the guidelines, you can hold it for 2 years, but they do have to, write and, tell you reason why they are holding it.
That's right, and their letter was to say that they wanted to include it with the money they were awarded this year for the. I did tell them that the community picnic was not, but I don't want to.
I'll just share some information. But those two were the one I was really concerned about. I know we have the new ones here. I look at them as a positive, thing, but the funds that are left over, please include at least, town across Hill. And I will just try to talk to, Mayor Smith regarding, the community.
I always try to work with sports, I love Waterloo, they have a great opportunity with the lake being there.
That's right.
And the advertising would really draw a lot of people there. And I really think that if they would focus on advertising and get people there, really make a difference.
I thank you for your service, and I know you work very hard at it, but, I'm just an inclusive person, and I try to include as much as I possibly, anybody as much as you possibly can, where there's not a real, there's a real need there to keep them going, and I don't want to be a stumbling block for them, and I don't want them not understanding to be a stumbling block.
Yeah.
So I like for people to reach out and make sure that we can help them in every way we can. But, and how much could you, I hope this group that's sitting here willing to give them at least $3,000 to. How much was left at,
$19,204.
can I make a motion to that extent? Sure. Okay.
I just ask a question, then why don't we have that?
Cotton Festival, they used to have a cotton festival, yeah, but I don't know what happened to that.
That's what they're trying.
That's what they turned in, okay, but they used to have a cotton festival, and I thought they drew a lot of people that way. They also are pretty good with, the people on the lake. I think it draws a lot of them in so they can find out some of the history of the county.
Again, that placer softball will really show what that community brings, with the boat ramp. That boat ramp is busy all the time, and I think if we did some advertising just to show that boat ramp or possibly even a new park, on the lake, that could really draw a lot of people in and spend some tourism dollars there, that could really make a difference for Waterloo and building that community. And that's a justifiable expenditure, really put some money towards a park on the lake in Waterloo. That would be a great expenditure of tax dollars.
But Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I move that we acknowledge the town of Cross Hill, with the requested amount of $3,000 from the ATAC money.
Approve the rest of those with the addition of the 3,000 across Hill.
Not unless someone want to pull one out. Everybody happy with the rest of them? Everybody happy if you add 3,000 to the town of Cross Hill? I move that motion.
And I will take that motion as approving the ATEX and PRT committee's recommendations with the addition of the town of Cross Hill for $3,000, bring our total of council approved to 41,300. Is that right, Andy? And leave a balance of 16,204. Be allocated to Visit Lawrence, is that correct?
Be allocated to billboards, to be managed by Visit Lawrence. The billboards would highlight the Lawrence County, Clinton, Waterloo, different things throughout the county. Different spots throughout the county, which council can point out exactly what they want.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Anderson to approve a total of $41,300 of ATAX funds to multiple organizations, allocating the remaining $16,204 to Visit Lawrence to manage billboards. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Clark. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, sir. So I think the ATAX committee works very hard to follow a process by which they have an application, they have requirements, and they deemed that project did not meet the requirements of the application. They had a specific reason why, not that they didn't believe in the town of Cross Hill or what they were trying to do. It did not meet the letter of what the applications were. I don't feel comfortable going behind the committee. I didn't sit on that committee. I didn't review any of these things, but I trust they did. It didn't meet the requirements, so I don't know why we're at this level telling them to use their pay tax money or our tax money for something for a process that it didn't pass. It's just me.
Verification to did their application and their request pass state code. Let me rephrase my question then. The 3,000, we allocate $3,000 across there, we violate the law.
It does not violate the law, however, it does not, in their eyes, attract tourism to Lawrence County. To that effect.
Which is the reason why I say that.
I agree. I want to get a legal question out of the way too. All right, gotta make
You can't make a motion. All we have to do is pass the motion, and the motion have to pass or fail.
You can make an amendment, as I already said.
I have to accept it.
So this particular motion added $3,000. The amount requested was $4,000 and it adds $3,000. It's not even what they asked. It's a number, an arbitrary number. Because that's what most others got, I guess. And they do not advertise for out-of-county tourism, which is what the goal is. So I would approve the recommendations if the town of Cross Hill did not get funded $3,000.
From out of town there, just not for that.
They do have tours, they have people from out of town there. I really don't know how the application was worded. And that's the reason why I justify it, because I have participated, just like I participated in Lawrence on Main Street, and I watch the people and I talk to the people because I am a talker. And I know who I'm talking to and where they're coming from. And I'm just speaking, the truth. And I think they're doing the best they can, the way they know how. And I don't want them to be left out because they just didn't dot an I across the T. And I feel like they are just small town who need the help. And I just don't believe in just not trying to help when we have the money there to help. And it was not picked out of the air, the $3,000. Basically, most of all of them asked for 4,000 and it went down to 3,000. So that's the reason why I selected that number. And I feel like they do try to meet those guidelines. They know what the guidelines are. In the past, they have received something from this body, and I would like to see them receive something this time, along with just making sure that they know what the statute says.
Any other discussion?
Yes. I agree with Ms. Anderson because, I agree with Ms. Anderson.
On one point, cost of Cross Hill, I have participated as well with Cross Hill, and I do know they attract some out-of-town people, because they're pastors down in that vicinity, that pastors are churches from out of town, so I know out-of-town people are coming to the town of Cross Hill. And also, as well, they took a big hit with losing their mayor. So I really feel like we've been supporting town of Cross Hill. I feel like we should owe them a little something. But we need to make sure that they understand the application. That would be my point, but I will vote for the town of Cross Hill to receive $3,000.
What if, we make a stipulation that I ensure that they must advertise out of county with some of those funds? Because the funds can be used to put on the event, but we also make sure that they use some of those funds to advertise outside of county.
I would appreciate it. I'm gonna ask you for one of the bulletin boards. I should do that now.
Is there any other discussion?
So
I'll just,
if that meets, if having them advertise outside meets and y'all would agree to that, I'll support that. I just don't feel comfortable with your recommendation of us just applying funds if they didn't meet.
I will say this, advertising is not a requirement. And I don't want you all to misunderstand, advertising is not a requirement. But a lot of times they use that as that they drawing people in. For instance, Flight of the Dove brings in thousands and thousands of people. But they don't have to use, because their budget is tens of thousands of dollars. So they could just use it on buying t-shirts, because they're putting on, that's such a large budget that that's just what they use these funds on. But they could use it on advertising as well. It's just whatever they put the money in, and that's what, because this is a small amount of money for that. For Cross Hill, this could be their whole budget. For the Catfish Feast, it could be their rides. I mean, so it could be a small portion of their budget, and what they audit comes back and shows us what they spend their money on. So it doesn't have to be advertising. It could be event production. So it's not necessarily advertising that it has to be, but a small project like that could be advertised. So the goal is to bring tourists in. As long as the tourists are here, that's the goal. And Cross Hill does put on a show. The reason why ATAX committee says this is not a project that quantifies it, because they're saying it does not bring the tourists that these others do. And if it's bringing in 10, whereas these others are bringing in 1,000, that's why they're saying it doesn't quantify, it doesn't justify. So that's why the ATAX committee said it's not a big enough project to justify $3,000, just like the Musgrove Mill reenactment or the hospice Flight of the Dove. It's not as big of a show as the others. So that's why it didn't say that it was that. It's not that it's against the law, what they're doing, it's not. Perfectly quantifies, it's just not as big a show as the others. But if we did advertise, I think it would bring more, because these small town things are exactly what people in Greenville are looking to do on the weekend. And I think if they advertise in Greenville, people in Greenville will come and do these. But we've got to get out of that mindset of we need to advertise and get the people in Lawrence to come to Cross Hill, or get these people out of Clinton to come to Cross Hill. We got to advertise in places like Greenville to get people to come to Cross Hill, because those are the people that are going to come. Those are the people with expendable income to come to Cross Hill and actually spend time in Cross Hill, because we got something to offer. People are moving out of Greenville to come to these places. Those people are buying houses here, so those people will come and do the things that we have going on the weekend. It's just a mindset that we, as local Lawrence, Clinton folks, we have to get out of that mindset that we just need the people here to come do our things. We just got to advertise outside of town. So that's what we've got to get around. And I'll work with Miss Anita, and she'll be open to it, because they're open to making their small town great, and it won't take much. But it's, like I said, it's up to you all, say, yeah, do it. And we'll do it. That's what I'm here for. I'll work with you all. So I will more than gladly work with every one of these people to say, hey, this is what you have to do. Because the ATEX, the Tourism Expenditure Review Committee, they want us to work with them because all that's gonna do is create more tourism dollars that we can spend next year.
Any other questions or comments? I'll just say, I agree with something that Carol said about these committee members. I see them up here. I appreciate all that you do, serving on this committee. And there's a reason that there were some left off, in my opinion. We weren't privy to those meetings. We weren't privy to those discussions. So I will, at this time, be able to support the addition. Given that no amendments have been made, we will just call for a yes or no vote. If it passes, it passes. If it fails, we'll call for another motion. Is there any further discussion? And I'll call for a vote, just to restate the motion. Ms. Anderson's motion was to accept the recommendations of the ATAX and PRT committee for allocation with the addition of $3,000 for the town of Cross Hill. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion fails 2-4. Councilman Yance, Carroll, Franklin, and Patterson, and opposition.
I'd like to make another motion. That they include the town of Cross Hill with, $2,000.
Attorney. Back to paycheck this week. Normally when a motion fails, somebody that was on the failing side cannot restate the motion in the same meeting. It's differentiation from 3,000 to 2,000 enough to accept the new motion. I know that's a tough one, I'm sorry.
That would be a bit, yes.
Okay. All right, we will accept the motion to accept recommendations with the addition of Cross Hill at $2,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Clark. Is there any discussion?
Ms. Anderson, would you be willing to add what Andy had said, to have them advertised to outside areas as a requirement of the funding?
I was reading that earlier.
It wasn't in the motion, is the reason I asked.
I asked to make sure that they had a copy of the statute, knowing that the statute calls for advertisement to
It's not in the statute.
include tourism.
It's not in the statute that they advertise out of county.
It was not in the statute that you advertise out of county.
No.
Then our application.
But it has something in there about local though.
It's, if you use advertising for the funds, then it has to be outside of it.
Okay,
That's
If you use it for advertising.
all right, okay, well, I can go along with that. I can add that to the motion. Along with the stipulation that the town of Gray Court at least advertise with outside the county,
Cross Hill.
outside the town of Cross Hill.
That restated motion, do you echo your second, Ms. Clark?
Yes.
All right, so is there any further discussion on the table before I restate the motion? The current motion is to approve ATAX and PRP committee's recommendations with the addition of $2,000 to the town of Cross Hill with stipulation that they must advertise outside of county. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-1. Councilman Patterson in opposition. Reiterate, please thank your PRT committee and the ATAX committee for all your hard work. We appreciate all that you do in West County and take the time to go through all these applications. I know it is a daunting task, I'm sure, it takes many hours. Thank you for that. All right, I believe, Ms. Knopf, so no one will sign up for the comments this evening. We have no old business. So we'll move into new business. I will call on the county administrator. We have an approval for resolution declaring 911 telecommunication employees as first responders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just the word Ms. Anderson used a second ago is inclusive. Several counties across the state have decided to classify our telecommunicators as first responders. You have a resolution in front of you, which will allow Lawrence County to do that. I believe we will be the fourth county in the state to do this. What this does is this extends benefits to them that are otherwise unavailable currently to our telecommunicators, such as mental health counseling and things of that nature, because they are the front lines to these incidents that take place. They're the ones that get the call. They're the ones that try to field out what's happening and then dispatch the proper responders in the field. And they are that lifeline between the people out there responding to these incidents and the people going through the tragedy in the moment. So to me, this is a no-brainer. But for your consideration is this resolution to be fourth county that I know of in the state of South Carolina to do so.
So I will call for a motion to approve resolution 2024-14. Declaring E911 telecommunicators as first responders. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Clark, second by Mr. Carroll. Is there any discussion or comments?
Since we feel, that E911 should be first responders, have we thought about, placing it in our policy, legislative policy manual that we do on an annual basis for, what we go to Columbia and present every January, some of the, policies that we think that the state should pass? We can put it in the form of a committee, and I think it's a judicial committee. And since, you already have 3 other counties willing to do this, I don't know how many others, but if they feel like, it is that we want to put them in first responders, we should work toward moving toward that effort of making us a policy as well as a policy that we a part of the legislative body.
I'd like to speak to that. Lawrence County lately has been on the leading edge of those grassroots efforts from a legislative perspective. As far as our litter control with the council's effort, the sheriff's office effort, as well as the municipalities all coming together and doing a joint ordinance situation for a countywide enforcement that made waves across the whole county. This is doing the exact same thing here. So this allows that consensus effort to go and advocate through our legislative process up in Columbia through the association to really form that grassroots effort. But it's actions like you're taking tonight that give us the ability to move forward and really create that platform. So.
Also, Ms. Anderson, Mr. Carroll sits on a committee for the Association of Counties. That is I'll be honest, I can't remember the official title of that committee, but it covers emergency services recommendations to the legislative committee. I'm blessed enough to sit on the full committee.
And that topic's was in our discussion.
And I think if he can push that from the committee level and I'll push it from the full committee level, I think between the subcommittee and full committee, we can make something happen this coming year, at least to get on paper. And maybe Mr. Rankin once again can help us from the floor with pushing those agendas through. But I think getting that on paper as a recommendation from the association is extremely plausible. This go around.
Chairman, you're gonna keep me very busy.
Don't forget where you came from. Proud of it. So with that being, motion being made by Ms. Clark, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Is there any further discussion? Or that I do one thing, I see we have our no one director as well as a couple of telecommunicators with us. We appreciate all that y'all do. Y'all, when we talk about first responders, y'all genuinely are the first voice that anyone hears when they have an emergency. And the guys out there in the field, guys and gals in the field couldn't do what they do without you on the phones and on the radio. So thank you for all of y'all's hard work and dedication. All those in favor of approving resolution 2024-14, please raise your right hand. Congratulations. Next, We have resolution 2024-15, authorize county administrator to expend the fund balance of 600 at fund 2324. I'll take that one. So as council is aware, we collect a fixed millage annually for capital needs, which is fund 600. And then from time to time, there may be surplus each year, surplus in that account due to increased growth in the county. I'd like to credit Mr. Wilson by finding us great deals and saving us money from the proposed expenditures. A lot of it comes from that, whereas we might see a quote on a capital expense for, we use sheriff's car, 650,000, and we might get everything for 610. So that'll leave a balance of 40. Historically, unfortunately, that wasn't always properly tracked. Capital was up, money was always used for capital expenses, but it was blended into the general fund, and we never really had a true grasp of the surplus from the gathering of those fixed meals. Ms. Morrow and her team has done a great job over the past couple of years since we initiated that request to track the overages and the surplus balance due to quality bidding. And now we have surplus in that account. And it is honestly higher than I thought it was, which is a good thing. The projected funds at year end, right this second, are scheduled to be $542,000. I'll make a recommendation when we make this motion that we don't allocate all of that to the administrator. But the reason for giving him some autonomy in those funds is there's oftentimes throughout the year where Mr. Wilson or another department head might come across a bill on a piece of used capital that's in need. For example, unfortunately, we had one of the EMS QRVs had an accident, totaled the truck. We could have gone to state surplus and gotten one for half the price with 15,000 miles on it, and been back up and running the next day. But that would have been something that would have had to come to council and take a month or more to allocate. Being able to give Mr. Higgs the autonomy to make these decisions within our existing procurement policy. I think our current policy goes up to $50,000 on certain capital expenses and outlines the bidding process, so on and so forth. But I think it would be wise to allow that and then also keep some in surplus as well as we move into future years when we might find a need or have an emergency. We do have our contingency account, but having a surplus in this account might allow us to fix an air conditioning unit somewhere or replace a car, replace a vehicle or something like that that may be needed that's outside of the normal policy. So I would like to make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-15, but only authorize county administrator to expend 50% of the funds remaining in Fund 600 at year end on June 30th of 2024.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
After we found out we had this surplus, I asked Mr. Higgs to look around for some other.
Okay.
So he said he was actively looking.
I'm already on it for you, trust me.
All right, so he looked for them for.
And then I do want to point out that the majority of this surplus comes from quality bidding and Mr. Wilson and his person team of finding the best prices and maybe deciding on equipment that's a need instead of a want and allows us to save some money that might have been presented to council originally. Further discussion on motion.
And that's for this budget year. We're finishing that. This is not a new policy year over year.
Correct. This would only be specifically to allow him throughout the next fiscal year to expend up to 50% of the remaining funds of the balance.
Of FY24.
The balance is in the fund. So that, for example, we came into 2024 with $87,000 accumulated. Currently today, we're at 437, but this is expected to be a little more for the years out. So it is over several years. Ms. Mara, y'all started tracking that in 22, I believe.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, so we haven't expended any surplus funds in this account since they started tracking, and accounting for them. Their own fund. Any other discussion? And then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Up next, we have first reading of ordinance 967, the comprehensive plan. I'll turn that over to the county administrator.
Yes, sir. As most people on council know, as well as the general public, we have been working diligently on the comprehensive plan. We used the outside agency to formulate the plan, do a public input session, scattered amongst the county. The person formulated the plan, gathered that input, put together a draft plan, which then went through the planning commission, and now it's working its way through council as required. So of course, this would be the next step in that plan. Council should have a copy of the plan as it's been passed on the plan.
For the county administrator on the comprehensive plan, and I will say it was a extensive process. And I'd like to please remind me of the consultant firm we used to do that.
It's Blake Sanders Studio.
Studio Maine, it was Blake, I can't remember the name of his company. Studio Maine, who's done several other ones on the upstate. I believe he's working with the city of Lawrence. He's done ones before the city of Clinton. So he's familiar with our area, and I think he did a great job. And hopefully everyone will agree. Our planning commission took it. Anyone hear from the planning commission? I don't see anybody. Planning commission took it, reviewed it. They had at least 2 public input meetings out at the Ridge. I know one was specifically for local agencies, your water, sewer, school districts, cities, so on and so forth, to come provide input as well as taking input from the citizens. And they have revised it and brought it to us in its current fashion, and now it'll be our job to review it as we move forward. I'll take a motion to approve the first reading, that I would like to preface that with, I think we should probably set up a committee as a whole and give us, I know we had it for about a week now, but give us time to go through it. It's 300 and something pages long. So I think we need a little time to make sure we thoroughly review it. We will set up a committee as a whole meeting in the future to discuss it before we move forward with any other readings.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve first reading of ordinance 967.
Motion by Mr. Rankin. We have a second.
Are you want it to go to committee before we move on this motion, or after the motion?
We're going to take first readings.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll for first reading of ordinance 967. We will not have a second reading until we hold that meeting. Is there any other discussion or questions?
Could we,
Part of that meeting would involve a presentation from Mr. Sanders.
could we not use by title only? Could we use something, since we have not gone through any of it?
Well, even if we did it by title only, it'd still be the first reading would be done, so.
But that's why we had, I'd like to have something else out there, since it's just by title only. And then we have the next session, we'll have some discussion.
But it's our comprehensive plan, it won't have another title. I mean, that's what it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, the guts, as I'll reread it, just double check.
We do our first budget on title only. But yeah, and so that's why I'm saying, if we hadn't had an opportunity to review anything, it should be stated another way other than. I know.
So the reason,
How can you say?
To add to that, it's actually on the website for the public to review. It's been on the website for some
Okay.
time. So you're, by title only, it's the ordinance passing, but the meat and potatoes behind it is on the website. You might go out and take a look at it.
No, all
I
right.
mean, they'll take
I've glanced at it, but I hadn't discussed. I just glanced at it, on the, digitally, so, but I probably need to get another way so I can write on something.
Even if we did title only, the title is an ordinance to adopt the comprehensive plan presented by the Lawrence County Planning Commission.
I can,
Whereas is Lawrence County Council adopted a revised comprehensive plan.
I can leave it as the first reading, since it's already been on the, website and everybody had an opportunity to look at some of it. They hadn't discussed it, but they have an opportunity to see it.
Discussion.
Yeah, the only discussion I have is, you know, I actually got to attend a lot of those, several of those, meetings we had throughout the county. I think we had 10. I was able to, I think, attend about 3. Those were really awesome. And I'm just so glad that the community, is at large pretty aware of what we plan to do with this. Some of the folks here in the crowd tonight were very involved with that. I want to thank them for being very involved with the process. Also the planning commission, some of those meetings, the 2 meetings that they held, you know, really encouraging the public to get involved, including the school district and, you know, Chamber of Commerce. And, you know, that was just really impactful. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this really deep with the rest of the council. You know, Lawrence County is on the move, and we have to have a plan. We have to have a vision for where we're going these next 10 years. And yeah, I'm really excited about this too, just from, you know, where I'm going to be moving into the role as a state representative, representing the bulk of Lawrence County, and how this plan is really going to shape our future and shape some of the initiatives that I'm going to be driving in the State House. So this is really good work. Blake Sanders did a fantastic job, and again, just look forward to diving into this.
Any other discussion? And then I'll call for the vote of first reading of ordinance 967. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. All right, we scratched letter D. Move on to a funding request from the sheriff's office for body and dash cameras. All that y'all pick who comes. I appreciate all y'all coming this evening. Looks like Chris threw the short straw tonight. No problem. All right, I'll give you an introduction to help you out. How about that? So during the budgeting process, as you know, we always get a plethora of capital requests. This year it was north of $6 million when we have less than 2 to allocate. This item was presented during that time period on the full capital request from the sheriff's office. At the time, the request was around 420-ish, if I recall. And then it came down to 360, and then went back up to 5. And after my continued request that we keep looking, we got it down to 150. So annually, so I'm excited, and in my opinion, a better system. And so I'll let Chris elaborate on the system we've been using and we're quoting, and then go into this system here and the other agencies that are currently using this system and how it will be beneficial to us here in Lawrence County. So take it away.
Let me just start by saying, you know, obviously this office is tasked with being the manage these citizens every day. We all battle for resources and the needs to keep the county safe, but we need your help with this project. This request is not just a want, it's a real need to improve our current system. This is a request to provide security for this office and citizens in it. Our current system has been in place since 2007. It's called Custom Signals. Custom Signals is changing over pretty much like everybody else and going to a cloud platform. So right now, as it sits, if we want to buy new body cams, new in-car cams through them or anybody, you have to go to cloud-based storage versus in-house storage. We did in-house storage and did a server upgrade in 2017, but a current system just, to be quite frank, just isn't working. We have multiple body cams that the audio is not where it should be, or it doesn't work at all, or in-car cams that are just simply not working. Lieutenant Ridens, that does our IT, is battling with Custom Signals on a weekly basis to get these things repaired. They'll go off to Ohio or wherever it is, and they stay there for months at a time, which leaves us with in-car cameras that are not working. That's a risk for us, a risk to this county. These in-car cameras and body cams help the citizens of this county if they make a complaint against it. Or to help the deputies make their cases. All these camera footages are used in court, good or bad. We just really need your help to go with this system. Axon is the top of the line. Is what the state has gone to and many other organizations across the state. Picture quality is amazing. The in-car camera system is amazing. The current system we have, if you get out of your car and flash and forget to turn your camera on, it's not on. There's a lot of stress involved going fast to a call, blue lights and sirens. They might forget getting out of the car, activate that. With this new system, if they turn those blue lights on, the body cam automatically cuts on, and so does the in-car cam. If they're outside the car dealing with somebody, non-emergent, they turn the body cam on, the in-car cam comes on. They all intersect. And the system gives you a really good picture of what's taking place. The old school system is pretty much pointed right ahead. There's no view out this way in front of that patrol car. The new system shows you everything around the front of that car. Axon is also a part of the TASER system. They are giving us the opportunity to integrate our TASER with this body camera system. So if a deputy pulls his TASER, his or her TASER out of the holster, it automatically cuts the camera. I can go on and talk about how great the system is. I was thoroughly impressed, and we tried to go this route, I believe, in 2018, and the cost was just too great. The current cost you have in front of you is a 5-year deal they made with the state of South Carolina that will end in September. That's why I'm hoping that this will work itself out here tonight. That's the pricing that you're getting right now is the pricing they quoted 5 years ago. It's a pretty good price comparatively to everybody else we've looked at. The request is to cover everybody, not just the sheriff's office, it's also the detention center. So as you saw, that's a total of 130 body cameras. That's 80 body cameras for the sheriff's office and 50 for the detention center. It's also to replace 35 in-car cameras for the Uniform Patrol Division. And also gives you 135 licenses to evidence.com. And without going down the rabbit hole with IT and all that stuff, you know, if the guys go to a call, guys and girls go to a call and they take pictures of the crime scene and they got to go back to the office and upload it. If they get video from the store clerk, they got to upload it to our system. This system is all inclusive, keeps it in one place. So they can download the app, evidence.com, take pictures on the scene. Your evidence is already there. The same with video recordings from stores. You can also record conversations with the suspect or a victim, and it saves to that case number itself. It's really going to tighten down where everything's located and be more efficient.
That's kind of a techie question, but is there any room for expansion with that 20 terabyte?
There is a store.
Okay,
Yes.
and what would that look like, you know?
More money.
Okay, I'm just curious. 20 terabytes, I know it sounds like a lot, but I know that gets eaten up real quick when we talk about video storage.
And I will say this, we're working with the state of South Carolina on another body cam grant. In the past, we've received around $20,000 to $30,000. It's not guaranteed. We do always ask for it. We've not received it the last several years. I think probably because the rest of the state was going to Axon and they were paying for their own stuff. It's just my belief. But I'm hoping Kevin Coates had really good conversations with them to try to get some grant funding, which would help for cloud-based storage. And that should help us down the road.
So just to be clear, is this all on-site storage or is it cloud? Okay, there'll be no more on-site.
You receive their tech support, everything in this price is through them. They maintain it, they fix it, they do the whole nine. Right now, the way our system works, if it stops working in the middle of the night and the guys and girls can't upload video, Lieutenant Riding test, wake up, come to the office and fix it. With Axon, they'll be able to call it customer support.
You elaborate on the replacement schedule that this is included. Is there a replacement schedule for this?
Okay, yes. Body cameras are the price you have in front of you is a free replacement of a body cam after 30 months. So after 30 months, you get a upgraded body camera.
How about the in-car?
In-cars like this, 35. I don't want to get too techy because I'm not a good tech guy, but just so you know about the in-car cameras, I know this council has asked in the past about tag reader systems, different things of that nature. That camera system does have the capability to add that to the camera. It's already built into it. It's just an additional cost. We didn't want to go down that road because I just need your help on this camera for now.
And then as long as we are participating at the $151,000 annual level, they'll keep replacing those body cameras.
That's correct.
Doing it.
They're holding that price consistent for the 5-year agreement. After the 5 years, then we,
It's subject to change. They're currently meeting with the state now on new pricing. This pricing we have today will guarantee us this next fiscal year.
we add FTEs or vehicles and we go over the 35 cameras and the 130 body cameras. What is the cost to do that?
So roughly the camera, you're talking about just adding to that lease.
Correct, let's say we need 135 now because we got 5 new FTEs.
Yes, the in-car camera, 3,000 to 4,000 per unit and then plus storage. In the past, council has been, helping us every year and making sure there's extra money there in case, because we have cameras that just go down, car wrecks, whatever happens. So that money's still always in our budget and a line item. So hopefully we can pull from that, so we don't have to ask for additional. And that's what we've done in the past with Mr. Wilson is if we have a wreck, we pull from here, we replace in-car.
I know they refresh it after the body cams after 30 months. If there is a damage or something, that's in there, right? There's a damage thing, if it breaks, then
No
they,
questions asked, we replace it. Currently, if a body cam goes down and it's outside that 1-year window, it used to be 600, now they're up to 900. And I'll just be frank, we can't get any help with customers. We've had 3 different representatives over the last 6 months. We're getting nowhere.
All the cameras you're using now was purchased in 2017, 7 years ago.
2007.
The system,
I thought you said at the first, I thought you said 2017,
Server upgrade.
yeah, server upgrade.
server upgrade,
We periodically replace cameras throughout the year.
okay.
Body cameras. In-car cameras cost $5,000 plus installation. So we don't have the ability to really replace those. I'll just be frank with you, the last 5 we bought, last year's fleet vehicles, out of the 5, 3 worked. The other 2 still don't work. We fought them with warranties, they'll give you a credit. It's just a nightmare. And there's no good local person to talk to. They send somebody down from Ohio in a rental car, they're there for a little bit and then they go.
This being on state contract, I guess it's a little more teeth.
Correct.
Well, with them.
And that's 150,000 for the next 5 years.
It's annually, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And the price subject to change, right, depending on state contract pricing. But this would lock us in for the next year at that 155, yes,
That's for the next year.
yes, ma'am.
State contract, just for clarification, Mr. Carroll kind of asked us. They renew all the, and they renew every 5 years, and that's everything from vehicles to lawnmowers to body cameras to tables and desks to lights. Anything's on state contract, they're always on 5-year
Okay.
renewal. I think it's great. I think having accurate and working equipment on this level protects our deputies and our citizens. How many complaints do y'all get a month?
I'd like to say 0, but we do get complaints, and it helps in the grand scheme of things. There's an incident that involves death, we review body camera every day. Every day we review body camera. And if you don't have good video, you're in the dark. Whether you're reviewing it with SLED, another agency, me and the sheriff, it doesn't matter. If you don't have good video, you're in the dark. Current body cameras, speaking of in the dark, if it's in the dark, it's in the dark. Turn a flashlight on, there's a little bit of gray and white. It's just not the best in the world. Today's time and technology, we gotta step it up to that next level.
I think it serves our citizens and our people well, especially this detention center, the sheriff deputies, animal control included in that number.
Yes.
Okay. If we get a motion on this, I think my recommendation on the funding, however, we did through the budget, but we also just discussed this balance in the 600 fund, which is where we that we allocated it. I think 151, 716, 87 for this year to get us started would be appropriate to come out of the fund balance of fund 600 if we move forward with this.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with this agreement to get the body camera, in-car camera as proposed, and that we expend the first year, $151,716.87 out of Fund 600 that we just.
Second that.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Yance.
And that would include 130 body cameras and 35 car cameras.
Yes, ma'am.
We will, I know a lot of times in including the vehicle we approved for the sheriff's office in the last budget included the cost of it. So as we continue to get new vehicles, we'll stick to the same system and purchase cameras that'll match up.
Yes.
Good. Any other discussion?
And there's a possibility that we probably get some funding from the state.
Correct. Kevin Coates does a good job of applying for grants for the sheriff's office, and like I said, he applies every year. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't, but moving to the system the state is on, I think they feel there's a better likelihood that we'll see some of those grant funds moving forward. All right, any other questions, comments, discussion? And then I'll call for the vote to authorize county administrator to work with the sheriff's department to purchase 130 Axon body cameras, 35 in-dash car cameras, as well as the company licenses requested not to exceed $151,716.87 from the fund balance in Fund 600. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, thank you, Sheriff. We appreciate all you and your team does day in and day out this time.
Thank you.
Sorry,
We should have had that one. My bad.
Probably should have done something, because that was exactly.
Now I gotta follow that up with the next agenda item.
All right. So I'll call on the county administrator for the next one.
All right. Kind of walk back in history a little bit. We have our current location with E911. Plans right now for the remainder of this building, I'm gonna say the 3/4 that are unfinished. We're building a new emergency operations center with a 911 facility, completely state of the art. One thing that's gonna do is take our resources from, currently, I believe we have 7 telecommunicators, or the potential of having 7, to no less than 10. That'll allow more resources across the county as we continue to grow with our municipalities and everything else. So keep in mind, we're making the move over here. This falls sort of in tandem with what we're doing in that move. Without getting in the weeds on all the technology, because like Chief Deputy Martin, I'm not big on the technology lingo, but currently we have an over-the-air system that we're utilizing. And we experience what we run into quite often is called trunking. So the communications go down, not by any fault of us, but coming out of Columbia and the state, those systems go down. Somebody can cut a fiber optic line or whatever the case may be, which leaves our law enforcement officers, our EMS, fire, first responders without communications. They have to go backup means, whether it be over cell phones or courier pigeons or whatever the case may be. What we would like to do in the transition to our new facility is we would like to establish what's called a hard line between us and the state. This is a line that will not go down, and heaven forbid if it did, we would still have the backup resources of that over-the-air system that we currently have. Our current system, to clarify, will become a backup, and we have a new state-of-the-art system with a dedicated line running back and forth. What you have in front of you is a proposal from our communications providers, which it does several things. Number one, it allows us to take a step forward in that transition to that new hard line. Another thing we have, and we've been tackling it for years, we included part of it last budget, part of it in the upcoming budget is what's called a TDMA upgrade, where we have to upgrade all of our radios to meet the current standards that we have to do. Currently, the estimated cost on that TDMA upgrade, you'll see in your proposal, is $329,000. That's what the current projection for that is going to be. If we enter to an agreement with our communication provider, which will allow us to start going ahead and move into that hard line, they've agreed to cut the cost of that TDMA down from, we'll just say $330,000 down to $180,000. That's a significant cost savings for something we are going to have to do anyway. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We've got to do that TDMA. Another thing we're going to do when we move the consoles from our current facility to our new facility, we're going to try to upgrade to the most state-of-the-art consoles available. Director McCord and myself spent pretty much an entire day down in Columbia. It was way over my head, but he understood it. To see the difference in what we currently have to what we'll be going to, and what it does, talking about our first responders, it gives them the most accurate, up-to-date information when they're taking the call. It lays out everything in a more user-friendly manner. It allows them to react a little bit faster to get those first responders out there tackling the emergency. So what that does is that price tag for that upgrade going to the new system will be around, we'll just say $400,000. And it's actually the proposal. It takes that down to $44,000. So that's a significant cost savings there. So what we're doing, we're realizing the reduction from 330 down to 180 and from 400 down to 44 in exchange for installing that hard line to get us, around the state's issues that they've been experiencing. The total price tag of that, you have it in your handout. I think it's at it's $1.2 million. So you'll see the breakdown is $1,203,760.21 to be exact. So you'll see a breakdown of that expenditure as this building is developed. So we have to pay an initial 25% deposit on that within 2 months of signing an agreement. So if y'all give me the authorization to enter into an agreement, we have 2 months. That'd be approximately $300,000. 60% will be when the building is progressing, and we get all of that infrastructure sent to us from the manufacturer here to be installed. That 60% is the $722,000. Then they do installation, which would be the next 10%, which would be $120,000. Then we do a check off on everything, and then we close and bill it at $60,000. So what that does, again, to put it all in perspective, it allows us to realize the cost savings on the TDMA upgrade, which we have to do anyway. The cost savings of moving into the next century as far as what our dispatchers have at their computers. And then allows us to establish this hard line directly with Columbia. So when our first responders are out there in the field, their radios don't go down. And heaven forbid, if they do, we'll have a substantial backup system in place. So the funding for this, I know that's the next question. How do we fund it? We have currently unallocated ARPA funds still in the bank, which we can appropriate toward this. The balance on that ARPA is $1,270,000. And that's the change. I'm just using a rough number if I see you right. To tackle the total project cost of $1,203,000, which of course is phased over some time with the construction of that building. So that also gives us the chance to look at grants, appropriation dollars, and Columbia. Working with our federal counterparts through FEMA and the State Emergency Operations Program. So, and that gives Chris some time to work those avenues as well. So, but the immediate to execute this contract, we do have the funding available to enter into this contract with the understanding that we can potentially go out and realize some more funds. I hope that made sense. I try my best to digest it as good as I can, but that's it, pending any other questions.
Questions?
In the past, the state always gave us some money for communications. They've given us some funds.
And that's still a possibility, but what we have to do in order for us to realize the cost savings on the TDMA upgrades, as well as go in and lock that access pricing in for the new generation of telecommunicator program, we have to lock that contractually in with our provider to go ahead and realize that, because that locks them into a contract with us on.
So if we agree to this, the dual fiber connection that's gonna come from Columbia, that's gonna help us, which would normally cost us 400 grand, they're gonna do it for 44,000.
No, that program is a software program. So when you're, imagine going down to our 911 facility and you see them there and with all the computer screens and they have this big interface. It's upgrading that interface to a new software system, which is more precise and accurate, more user-friendly. The training time will be cut down, so when we get new communicators hired, the training time lowers because that interface is just a lot easier to use, and it gives more accurate information for them to relay to our first responders on the ground responding to the calls. So that's a new software program that we're getting a call savings by entering into this.
Is that included in the 1.203?
No, that would be separate. But that would be included in the construction cost of that.
But using the ARPA funds, which you said we have like, what, 1.27 roughly?
Unallocated right now, we have 1.27.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of project that ARPA was designed to
Right.
fund. So I feel kind of optimistic from that standpoint, moving forward with this.
Yeah, and with the understanding that Chris and I are gonna work around the clock, Director McCord and I are gonna work around the clock to try to realize more, help and assistance through grant programs.
What actual capital equipment are we getting for the 1.2 million? What is that?
It's 3 new consoles for the center. The upgrade in the equipment, but it's also the 2 fiber lines, all the network switches and everything that makes that run. So everything, if you ever come down to the comm center, go in the back room and you see there's 3 racks that have nothing but radios, computers and everything in them. It's replacing all that. Those 3 racks come over here as backup. But it's an entirely new radios.
And so we bring our existing equipment over, we get 3 more and they're gonna put it all together and make it work.
And a lot of our existing equipment thereby becomes a backup system, so we're actually beefing up our capabilities.
Plan for construction that's put into this contract is they'll actually go ahead and take 2 of mine down and leave me with 5. And they'll bring 5 up over here with all the new stuff. And then once we walk in the door, they'll come back, tear those 5 down, install all the new equipment and everything else, bring those 5 up to give us, and move all the equipment that is there, all the radios, the consulates and everything. They'll then move those over here as backup. But while that system's still sitting there running, we'll be live and online with the 2 fiber lines.
And that's all for this 1.2 million.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, the $44,000, that's in there. Originally that quote was $44,000 less. And whenever they gave us the software upgrade, they only brought it up 44,000 from our original quote.
So the redundancy that we'll have will be in the same building, and it'll just be on separate lines.
Correct.
Okay.
Which has been a big issue. I remember, was it Christmas Eve a couple of years ago, our communications went down. We don't need that to happen.
All I have. Clear as mud? Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, that TDMA upgrade is, we have to do that regardless of anything else.
We have been twisting and turning it every way for the past 2 or 3 years, and it's a must. We're at the point where if we don't do it now, for the $330,000 roughly, that's at today's price. It's going to go up too after fiscal year.
Which,
July first, it'll go up another $200 to $300 per radio, and we have 833 radios to count.
well, I'm kind of curious to go back to the ARPA funds. What's the timeline that we have to use those funds? Is there a expiration date, like when we're supposed to?
There is, but these are unrestricted funds, so we've
Got it.
already met all the federal requirements.
Okay.
These are funds for us to extend now. Without the federal requirement, extended for date.
Yeah,
And even if they were, I think it's Christmas of this year in 25, so we actually have another.
Mr. Chairman, would you like a motion?
Sure.
Let's see. Well, I would like to make a motion that we fund the, what's you said, 25%. Of the,
It would be one, I'd have to enter in a contract with the provider for $1,203,760.21, with 25% of that being, is broken down by timeline. For payable, but I'd have to enter in a contract with the federal.
well, I make a motion that the county authorize the county administrator and enter into a contract for the total of $1,203,760.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rankin, and a second by Ms. Anderson to authorize the county administrator to enter into a contract for emergency communication stabilization project to install dual fiber connection with Columbia, as well as upgrade to newest radio software upon opening the new facility here at Gulf Drive.
Are they gonna have an issue with holding our shipment? Depending on our timeline to getting construction done?
No, sir, as long as I execute this contract, that puts all the wheels into motion, so it would be stored and then delivered when appropriate here, using our contractors on the ground. So when our engineers, contractors are ready for installation, that shipment will come. Is that a accurate statement?
It actually, it's held down at PAL 800 in Columbia, and it actually gives them the opportunity to go ahead and program and get it all ready and have it tested before they bring it in and install
So they're not gonna be, if we have a delay or something, that's not gonna be an issue.
Absolutely.
Clarify your motion that the funding would come from unallocated ARPA. Any other discussion? Here none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving county administrator into a contract, dual fiber connection and the software upgrade for the new consoles for the amount of $1,203,760.21. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. I'll also call for a motion for EMA upgrades for, you got 180 right here. Is that a not to exceed number?
Yes, sir. We already started the process on the TDMA upgrade, so do we need a contract approved with our provider to start that? We've already budgeted.
It's in the budget. I just
Yeah.
need the motion for that.
We just have to sign the.
I'd feel more confident bringing, if you want to make a motion to allow me to execute a contractual agreement to execute the TDMA upgrade, we can do that tonight, or you want me to bring the contract back later? That's fine.
You're not on a time constraint for that one. You're not on a time constraint for that one.
Yeah, it was July 1st.
Yeah.
Basically, all we have to do is, he has to be able to sign the notice. And I have the contract. Basically, a quote from them.
That was the kind of form budget.
The money budget, I'm gonna put that. How about a motion to allow the county administrator to execute contract for TDMA upgrade pending review by the county attorney, not to exceed $180,000. Second. I'll make that motion in second by Mr. Carroll. Those monies are already in current budget, so there's no allocated funds there. Is there any further discussion? Oh, what's the timeline on that upgrade for 823 radios?
As soon as they get them done, we just have to start systematically sending them the day after the program.
They'll send us the, flash codes immediately. And then we'll work with Diversified, to get that off. We have until 2027 actually.
All right, any other questions or discussion on that one? Here now, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right. Thank you, and I do encourage the hard work by Director McCord and Mr. Higgs on finding us some grant money and or allocations from General Assembly to help us with the funding of the project. Ignore me now.
They gonna throw him out in General Assembly before he can sing.
I've got 2 pages of notes. So
We got a few more months to get you some more.
keep it going.
All right, up next, we have approval of resolution 2024-16. Receive some property from LCDC. I'll get background on this. You recall several months ago, we took some properties that were in the county's name that were purchased by Department of Commerce funds for projects over the years. The 2 main ones was the large piece of ZF, which this pertains to, as well as a large piece on 221 headed out to the city of Lawrence. Putting those in the LCDC's name, so that we ensured that the properties were negotiated within the terms of state commerce as they were given to us. In that transition, the property above ZF, the original plat, they don't care, from the late 2000s, was never properly recorded in the Register of Deeds office. So when we transferred the parcel for that large piece of property, it included the Emergency Service Center, Northern Emergency Service Center, by ZF. So the LCDC unintentionally owned and but did not operate 911 or a fire station, EMS station for months. So what this does, after Mr. Cruikshank reviewed those errors in the project, this would be the cleanest way to bring our service center back into county ownership. So all this does, the LCDC, our meeting in May, I believe, that's May 24th, voted to return this particular parcel cutout to Lawrence County. Is 1.56 acres. So all we're doing in resolution 2024-14 is receiving this property back from the LCDC. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2024-14? Motion by Mr. Carroll. Second by Mr. Frank. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. We're now once again the proud owners of a Northern Emergency Service Center. Next is council comments. I'll start on my right, Ms. Clark.
No comment, thank you.
Right.
I'll just say, first and foremost, big runoff in County Council District 7 tomorrow, and also 3rd congressional race. Make sure to get out and vote. Same polling locations, you guys always vote. So make sure you guys get involved there. I know there's a lot of jabs tonight with things I need to put on my list of things to advocate for in the State House. I'm actually real excited about it. I can't wait. I'm very passionate about representing my people and the people that elected me and put their faith in me to do a good job on their behalf. And I'll just say this, I think modern politics has gotten away from what the core responsibilities of a representative are and what you are supposed to do. For a county council member, I'm representing the, 10,000 people that elected me to be their voice. And now having the very large responsibility of representing 41,000 people that put their faith in me to be their voice in Columbia. And that role is humbling. It also is very exciting because we have so much opportunity in Lawrence County to really move the needle. And I want to be your voice. I want to bring home resources back to Lawrence County and really move our county on a trajectory that we haven't really hit yet. And we are starting to move in the right direction, but I think there's a completely different level we can really hit over the next 5 to 10 years. And so I'm very excited to be your voice. And again, keep on piling, throwing stuff at me. I'll do my best to keep it all straight. But that's why I'm here. And, there's some representatives, they don't want to hear from some people. They only want to, focus on their pet projects. But there are some things as a representative, it might be considered boring, right? And there are a lot of things in government that are kind of just gritty and sometimes hard to understand. But as a representative, that's what I'm here to do. I'm supposed to get in the dirty mud and understand some of these hairy details and things with different things. But that's what I'm excited to do. I can't wait. And so keep on throwing it at me. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Youngs.
This morning at 11:30, we went to a topping out at the airport. Number one, I was just so happy to see, Mr. Samuel Lamb. I just was overjoyed. He gave me the love of the airport. We worked together so long, here, and it was just so good to see him. And the building is gonna be named after him. And so I wish you have an opportunity to go out and see the work that is being done, because I really believe that this, venue will really be helpful to the economy of the county. So please go out and see what's going on in the county. You can look right beside it, and I think the National Guard, they're doing something. Somebody invited me to come over and see the building while I was there. I said, it's a little too hot today, but I'll come another time. But just look around and see what the county is doing. And you heard of all the money they spent tonight. And so, we need you, looking at what we are doing with your money. And the other thing was that on Friday, I had an opportunity, and I'm not a TV person, but I had an opportunity to listen in at the morning news and had an opportunity to see Lawrence County showcased. The one that they showcased was Where Shows, and we got an opportunity to see Greg Lindley. He was on. And on this Friday, we get an opportunity for them to see Clinton. So if you want to come down to see what Channel 7 is going to be looking at and talking about, please do. We have a beautiful county. We have beautiful people here in the county. So I'm just asking you just to move out and just share and see what's going on. Thank you.
Here,
I think that's enough.
all right. I'll be brief. Well, look, I'm gonna say the sappy tear-jerking speech I have for you for December when we give you a good send off. But we are looking forward to serving us in Columbia. I know we give you a hard time, but I think your leadership will be well welcomed in Columbia. You'll be a great member of the General Assembly, and we know you'll do great things for Lawrence. Though we give you a hard time, we do believe in you, and we're proud of you. I don't have anything. 4th of July is coming up next week. We have sadly had 2 recent drownings in Lawrence County, one at the lake and one at Pitts Park and West Shoals, very recently, last few days. Just be careful, wear a life jacket if you're in the water. Pay attention to your friends. A lot can be avoided if people just pay a little more attention. And be safe. We don't like to see that. We're thankful for our first responders that go out to these calls and have to see the things that they see and come back and work the next day. It's not easy for them. So we keep it in mind. I see the deputy corner in the back. Our it's the Republican nominee for the corner this fall in the back. Congratulations on that, Mr. Mount. But you and your folks see the worst of the worst in addition to some of our other emergency services. So thank y'all for that work and hope y'all have to see that anytime in the near future. But just look out for your friends, remind everybody, to be safe in the water. It's dangerous. And with that, I believe we have one item for executive session. An employment matter to discuss employment and compensation of a building official. I will call for motion to enter an executive session. Motion by Mr. Carroll. Second by Mr. Rankin. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. The time is now 7:49. We'll enter an executive session at 8 o'clock.
Since we left.
All right, time is 8:20. We will reconvene council in open session. Council met in executive session to discuss an employment matter related to the appointment and compensation of a building official. No votes were taken in executive session, but I'll now open the floor for any motions that need to be made.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we authorize the county administrator to complete the hiring process for the county building and codes department position pursuant to the current salary.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rankin,
Second.
second by Ms. Clark. Is there any further discussion? And then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. All right, there being no other business, I will call for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Rankin. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. Thank you, council. We will reconvene in 2 weeks.